Hi yogis, welcome. Today I am bringing you an advanced practice. It's going to be a lot of fun. Have a couple of blocks if you like to work with them. I'm just going to get straight into it. We're going into child's pose. Feet together, knees wide. Do whatever you like with your arms to begin with. Take any little wriggles or movements that you need. If you come into child's pose and doesn't feel quite right, change position. Make any little adjustments that you need. I know for some people, this pose is comforting, maybe it's relaxing, and then for others, it's the complete opposite. So wherever you find yourself on the spectrum, just acknowledging that. And begin to turn your focus, your awareness to your breath. And imagine that you can breathe all the way into your lower back. And it doesn't matter if your hips are lifted away from your heels, but imagine that you could heavy them down and back a little bit more. So if we were in a classic studio environment, it's like I was coming along and gently applying some pressure to your hips to pull them back and down. And then keep this heaviness through the hips. Take your arms forwards out in front of you. Maybe you want to tent the fingers or lift your elbows. Walk the fingers a little further forwards as you continue to pull the hips back and start to feel the stretch into the left and right sides of your body, maybe even into your underarms. Make your way into a tabletop position, hands and knees. Take your right arm up towards the ceiling, take a big stretch, allow your right hip to swing out, and then thread your right arm underneath the left, but we're not gonna hold here. Inhale, take the arm back up, open the chest. Exhale, thread it through, reach a little further. One more, inhale, reach up. Exhale, thread the arm through, this time bringing your right cheek down to the mat. Take your left arm forwards, and as you do that, pull the left hip back. Feel free to stay here, or if you like, we can take a half bind, draping the left arm behind and catching a hold of your right hip. Roll the left shoulder back and down. If you're anything like me, and I tend to get quite tight through the thoracic spine, through the upper back, I'm already feeling like there's a bit of a blockage there. So I'm gonna really focus my breath into that space this morning. I'm using each exhale just to soften a little bit more. Releasing the left hand back down to the floor. Inhale, reach the right arm up, big stretch, and right hand to the mat. Inhale, take the left arm up, open up through the chest. Thread left arm underneath right, but we're not gonna stay. Inhale, take the arm back up. Exhale, thread it through. Last one, inhale, reach up. Exhale, thread it through, and then this time left cheek down. Reach your right arm forwards, pull the right hip back. Feel that beautiful side body stretch. Maybe you're gonna add in the half bind, draping the right arm behind you. Smooth, deep breaths in and out through the nose. You'll unwind the bind, bringing your right hand back to the mat. Inhale, reach the left arm up, stretch, and left hand down. So you're going to keep your palms down on the floor, but spin your fingers to face your knees. Inhale, drop the belly, lift sternum, lift sitting bones for cow pose. Exhale, round the upper back, cat pose. Draw the navel back and then maybe even bring your gaze towards your belly. Inhale through cow. Exhale, cat. See if you can puff up your upper back a little bit more. Spread the shoulder blades. 2 more. Inhale. And exhale. Last one. Inhale. And exhale. Find a neutral spine. Spin your fingers out towards the outer edges of your mat. Now, it doesn't matter which direction you go in. Just start to make some semicircle actions, kind of going over the wrists. I said semicircle, I meant just circle. And so I just want you to load your wrists, your fingers, your hands, and circle back in the other direction. You'll sit your hips back to your heels. Find an upright position through the torso. Pull the lower belly in and then reach your arms up. Now I'm going to spin to face you guys so that you can see. Spread your fingers super wide. And then I want you to curl the fingers in, really squeeze them in like you could imprint your fingernails onto the palms and then flick your fingers out. Squeeze and flick. And then go as fast or as slow as you like. Listen for that flicking sound. And then try to keep everything else pretty still through the torso, through the shoulders. Let's go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That never gets easier. Back to your tabletop position. This time you're going to have the fingers facing towards your knees, but your palms facing up. And then pull the hips back any amount, stretch out through your forearms. Downward facing dog. If there's any other little movements you like, sometimes I like to circle out through my shoulders. Maybe you want to take a few little wriggles. And then we'll meet in dog. Same thing in dog. Maybe you are pedaling out through the feet. Maybe you're adjusting your hands, your feet. So just spend some time in your first down dog. You know, it's a pretty full body pose, downward facing dog. So it's nice to spend a little bit of time in this first one, just really setting yourself up for your practice. Noticing hands, feet, shoulders, torso, hips, legs. And then dropping into your breath. And if you are working with Ujjayi breath, try to keep it soft so that you're not overworking the breath. We don't want to bring any added stress or tension to the body here. Go ahead and lift your right leg up. Bend the knee, open up through the hip. So I'm trying to keep my underarms square towards the mat. I'm not twisting my torso. And then circle out through the right hip a couple of times. And take the circle back in the opposite direction. Big step, right foot to the outside of the right hand. Keep your back knee lifted for the time being. And then we're just gonna move around a little bit. So you can shift forwards and backwards. You can pulse the hips. You might wanna straighten the leg. Allow this to be fluid. You're just getting into your hips. Maybe closing your eyes, not worrying about what this looks like, if it's got a name. And then lower the back knee down. See if you can wriggle it a little further back. You're gonna reach your right arm up. Take a deep breath in as you open up through the chest. And then we're gonna drop a right elbow to the inside of the right foot. Get nice and low. Inhale, open. Exhale, tap the elbow down. 3 more. 2. Last one. Right hand back down to the floor. Step into plank position. So you can hold in plank. Of course, you can use your knees, or if you like, take 2 slow controlled push-ups. So really trying to control the movement through the full range. Downward facing dog, hips lift up and back. Lift your left leg. Bend the knee, open up through the hip, square off your shoulders, and then take some circles through the hips. And take them back in the opposite direction. Big step, left foot to the outside of the left hand, keeping the back knee lifted for the time being. Shift around, forwards, backwards, side to side. You know the drill. And lower the back knee down. We're going to reach the left arm up, open up through the chest. Tap your left elbow to the inside of the left foot. Again, inhale, open. Exhale, drop nice and low. 4, 3. 2. Last one. Left hand to the floor, step back, plank position. 2 push-ups if you're taking them. Downward facing dog is where we meet. Maybe starting to feel a little bit of heat coming into the body here. Inhale, glide into plank position. And even though this is an advanced class, you might choose to place your knees down here. We're going to take a really slow, controlled lower to the floor over the count of 5. So bend your elbows, keep them hugging in 5, 4, 3, keep pressing into your finger pads, 2, and 1, all the way to your belly. Untuck the toes, roll the shoulders back and down. Inhale, peel the chest up, Bhujasana. Imagine you could squeeze your hands back to your hips and release all the way to the floor. So we're going to take our 5 counts to push back up. So you can do it with the knees lifted, toes tucked. Obviously that's going to be more challenging, or you can keep the knees down. Here we go. Push up for 5, 4, 3. Try not to drop your head. 2, and 1. Downward facing dog. Walk your feet all the way to your hands. Choose a forward fold here. You can take a rag doll. You could wrap the arms behind you. Lots of different options. What's calling you today? Wherever you are, can you let your head be heavy, your neck long? Release your arms, bend the knees, begin to roll yourself all the way up to standing. And at the top, roll your shoulders back and down. Gathering your hands into prayer at heart center, closing your eyes. And taking a moment here to set an intention. And if you can't think of anything, just maybe choosing something to dedicate your practice, your time to today. Inhale through your nose. Open mouth, exhale. Release your arms. Allow your eyes to open. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Big stretch, reach up. If it's okay on the neck, maybe you even lift the gaze up. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana, slight bend in the knees. Inhale to lengthen halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Step back, plank position. So we're going to continue with that slow, controlled work. Bend the elbows, lower 5, 4, squeeze your butt, 3, 2, and 1 to the floor. Inhale, Bhujasana, peel the chest up. Try to squeeze your hands back, releasing all the way to the floor again. So we're gonna take our 5 count push up. Take an inhale. Exhale, push up 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Downward facing dog. And those slow push-ups really can tell you a lot about where you start to notice your strength fading. So at what point does your body collapse? Maybe your hips drop, maybe your shoulders drop. And so it's quite useful to know that that's where you want to be focusing on building a little more strength. Lift the right leg. Bend the knee, open up through the hip. Step right foot to the outside of your right hand. Left foot to the outside of your left hand. We're in Balasana, hands to prayer. So in today's Balasana, I want you to really squeeze the knees in towards your upper arms. Sometimes we push them out. Today we're squeezing them in. And then feel your spine start to round. Hands come out in front of you, maybe on your fingertips. And just think of doing cat pose here. You get a stretch through your upper back. Keep pulling the navel in. Another full breath in. Exhale, fold. Lift the hips. Heel to your feet, hips with distance. Inhale, lengthen, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold. Rise to stand, reach up. Hands to prayer. Again, inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Step back, plank position. Last time like this, we lower 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale, cobra, peel the chest up. Maybe it's starting to get a little bit deeper. And then release all the way to your belly. We're going to push back up, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Downward facing dog. Thankfully, that was the last time we're doing that. Lift your left leg, bend the knee, open up through the hip. Step left foot to the outside of your left hand, right foot to the outside of your right hand. Malasana. Again, hands in prayer. Squeeze the knees in, really hug them in. And then again, hands to the floor. Walk them out. Last full breath in. Exhale, fold, lift the hips, heel to your feet, hips with distance. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Rise to stand, reach up. Hands to prayer. 3 rounds of Surya A on the breath. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step or float through your vinyasa. Downward facing dog. So really make these vinyasas your own. Feel free to add things in or skip them out. Obviously, you guys, if you're taking an advanced practice, you know what your body needs and how to work your practice. Bend your knees, inhale, look towards your hands, step, float or fly to the top of the mat. Inhale as you lengthen, exhale, fold. Rise to stand, reach up, hands to prayer. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold, complete the breath. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step or float. Vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Bend your knees, inhale, look towards your hands, step, float or fly to the top of the mat. Inhale to lengthen, or fall out of the handstand. Exhale, fold. Rise to stand, reach up. Hands to prayer. Last one, inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step or float, vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Bend your knees, inhale, look towards your hands, step, float or fly, top of the mat. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, fold. Rise to stand, reach up. Hands to prayer. So we're going to set up for chair pose. Feet can be wide or narrow. Just make sure your knees are tracking in the same direction as your toes. Sitting the butt low. And then feel your sitting bones pull towards one another, and you might find that helps you to lift your lower belly. Take another full breath in. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step or float, vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Spin the left toes out, step the right foot up for warrior one. Reach your arms up. Adjust the feet here if you need, maybe making it a little wider. Pulling the right hip back, left hip forwards. And then take your arms out wide, spin your thumbs down so you're internally rotating the shoulder head. And then you'll take the arms behind you, either hold opposite elbows or find a reverse prayer. If you're in reverse prayer, try to squeeze the heels of your palms together. And then keep the arm positioning, straighten through your right leg. We're gonna fold over the right thigh. Try to press down through your right heel and imagine you could squeeze it all the way back towards your left foot. Press down through the feet, lift the torso back up, rebend your right knee, warrior one, inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to the floor, step or float back, vinyasa. Spin your right toes out, step your left foot up, warrior one, come on up. Make your little adjustments. Arms out wide, spin the thumbs down, take the arms behind you. If you're holding opposite elbows, change which forearms on top. If you're in reverse prayer, maybe you're trying to get your fingers a little bit further up the back. And we're going to straighten through the front leg and then begin to fold the chest over the left thigh. Make sure you're not hyperextending the left leg, so a little bend in the knee, squeeze your quads towards the bone. Press into the feet to lift all the way back up, rebend your left knee. Inhale, reach the arms up, warrior one. Exhale, hands to the floor, take it back, vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Bend your knees, inhale, look towards your hands, step, float or fly, top of the mat. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, fold. Chair pose, sit low, reach the arms up. Press into your feet, rise to stand, Tadasana. Again, inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Step or float vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Spin the left toes out, step the right foot up. Inhale, come up, warrior one. Find your arm positioning back behind you. Straighten through the front leg. Exhale, fold over the front thigh. Press into the feet, lift the torso back up. Rebend your right knee. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands down, step back, vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Spin the right toes out, step the left foot up. Inhale, reach up, warrior one. We're going to find the arm positioning behind your back. Straighten through the front leg and fold. Keep the front leg straight. Lift the torso all the way back up. Rebend the front knee. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands down, vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Let go of any tension that you might be holding on to around your jaw. Maybe you open and close the mouth a couple of times. Bend your knees, inhale, look towards the hands, step, float or fly, top of the mat. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Chair pose, sit low, reach the arms up. Rise to stand, Tadasana. Chair pose again, why not? This time we're gonna add on a twist. So you can take right arm back, left arm forwards, or if you prefer, find your prayer twist, crossing the left arm over the right thigh. Keep the hips pulling back and down. Feel the squeeze of the sitting bones towards one another so the lower belly lifts. Try to maintain some length through the back of your neck. Keep the knees this low. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold, shake out the legs. That one always gets me. All right, chair pose, sit low. Find your twist, either right arm forwards, left arm back, or prayer twist. Trying to keep the hips nice and stable here so that you're working through the upper back more, opening the chest. Stay this low in the legs, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. So from here, we're coming into Bhujasana, crow pose, finding your way into it. So really think of spreading through the shoulder blades. And I know obviously in advanced practice, you're probably like, hey, I've done crow pose a bazillion times before. Just try to hold it without moving on. Really puff up the upper back more. Breathe, 3, 2, 1. We float back, chaturanga. Inhale, open. Back, downward facing dog. Lift the right leg. Knee to nose, pull it in, shift forwards. Take your shoulders beyond the wrists. Inhale, extend the leg. Right knee to your right underarm. Now stay here, or 3 times, slide your knee to your wrist. Pull the knee back up, spread the shoulder blades. To the wrist, pull it back up. Last one, to the wrist, pull it back up. Step right foot to the outside of your right hand, lizard pose. So we're gonna drop the right shoulder underneath the right leg. Now, my calf muscles are pretty solid, so I like to use my thumb and my hand to just kind of like move the calf muscle out of the way. So allow this to be a little messy, right? You might find that the right hip swings out for a bit in order to get the shoulder underneath. And if that happens, fine. You just want to hug it back in then. From here, you can take your arms out wide. Maybe you're hovering the hands away from the floor. Feel that pressure between your right leg and your right shoulder. Hands to the floor. You're going to walk your right hand back to the inside of the right foot. Look towards your left foot. Ground it down and then slide it back towards the right edge of your mat. So you have about heel to arch alignment. From here, reach the left arm up. You're in your extended side angle. You can feather the left arm behind you. Find your half bind. And if you like, maybe reach the right arm forwards. Scoop your right ribs towards the left. Strong legs, lift up, warrior two. Straighten through your front leg. Flip the front palm, reach up and back, reverse triangle pose. Lift this right hip and stretch from your right big toe to your right fingers. Maybe you want to reach the left arm back as well. Into Trikonasana. Reach forwards, drop the right hand down. So if you want to add on for your triangle pose today, you're going to interlace the hands back behind you. Just make sure you don't hyperextend the elbows. That's more of a note to myself. And then you want to continue to open the chest to the left. Both hands come to the floor. Walk your hands over to the left and parallel your feet for Prasarita A. So I'm going to ask you here not to go upside down. You'll get a chance on the second side. What I want you to do is take the legs as wide as you need in order to get your head down to the floor. So that's obviously going to be different for everyone. And then set your hands up, fingers facing towards the head. Feel the elbows hug in, spread through the shoulder blades, and just hold here. You know, sometimes we rush to come upside down, particularly if you are advanced and you've done these poses plenty of times, but we can still learn a lot by backing off sometimes. So really setting yourself up here. Focus on the length through the back of the neck. It's going to help us for where we're going to eventually end up. And then bring your hands back out in front of you. Walk your hands to your right foot. Spin all 10 toes to the front. Left hand stays down. Reach the right arm up. Easy twist. If you want to make it harder, you're going to hover the left hand away from the floor. Both hands to the mat, step back into plank position, and then lower onto your forearms. So for this, I want you to interlace your fingers, and then spread the shoulder blades so you start to puff up the upper back. Walk your feet in for dolphin pose. So we're gonna take dolphin push-ups here. And actually, you know, it's funny because if any of you have done your yoga teacher training or you've been in classes for a long time, you'll often hear in chaturanga not to round the shoulders forwards, right? That's dangerous or injurious. And that definitely can be the case if someone doesn't have the strength in their shoulders. But what we're about to do here in our dolphin push-ups is, look, take the shoulders forwards. We're going to bring the head, maybe tap the nose towards the hands, but we're doing this while still maintaining stability. So even though you're coming forwards, you're still really puffing up through the upper back, firming the shoulders, the shoulder blades, the outer arms, and then we push the head back. So we're doing our dolphin push-ups. And go nice and slow here, like we were doing in our chaturanga push-ups. At what point do you start to feel like you lose your strength? And rather than being defeated by that, you know, maybe celebrate that that's an area that you can work on, or it's maybe giving you some information about why you struggle with certain poses or in certain things. And so we can get caught up in black and white thinking in yoga alignment, but oftentimes life is a lot more complicated than that. Our bodies certainly are much more complicated than that. So this movement of coming forwards is not right or wrong, it's all in how you do it. Let's take one more. And then you'll walk your feet back, forearm plank, lower to your belly. You're going to wrap your arms back behind you, interlace your fingers, press down through the tops of the feet, shavasana, peel the chest up. Stay here or hover the legs. Hopefully that feels nice through the chest after that dolphin work. And release, downward facing dog. Inhale to lift your left leg. Exhale, knee to nose, come forwards more, round the upper back. Inhale, extend the leg up and back. Left knee, left underarm, stay here, or 3 times slide the knee to your wrist. Pull it back up to the wrist. Pull it up, last one, to the wrist. Pull it up, step left foot to the outside of your left hand, lizard pose. So we're dropping the left shoulder underneath. Let it be messy, move around. And then maybe hands out to the sides. Maybe you're hovering the arms. Release your hands back down to the inside of the left foot. So you're going to ground the back foot down, walk it towards the left side of the mat, set up for side angle pose. And then drape the right arm behind you, find your half bind. Maybe you want to reach the left arm forwards. It can certainly feel different coming into a shape from the ground up rather than from a standing pose. So if you need to adjust or back out a little, please do so. From your feet, come up, warrior 2. Straighten through the front leg. Flip the front palm, reach up and back, reverse triangle pose. Lift the left hip. And then reach from your left toes to your left fingers. Maybe you're reaching the right arm back as well. Into Trikonasana, reach forwards. Drop the left hand down, right arm up. Take a breath or 2 to find the positioning of your hips and legs. And then if you're going for it, arms behind you, interlace the fingers. And even if you are turning the gaze up, still keeping the back of the neck long. Release both hands to the floor. Walk your hands to the right and parallel your feet. All right, so option to repeat what we did on the first side, just setting the hands down and kind of really firming the shoulders, prepping for tripod. If you are coming up into tripod, hugging the elbows in, making sure there's equal weight between 2 hands and the head, you can lift up to tripod. Now, if you would like to add in from here, and if you feel like your shoulders have the strength to do this, you're going to bend the knees, lower your knees down to your upper arms, or the backs of your arms, and then you can take crow pose. So think of pulling the chest forwards a little, round the upper back, maybe you're straightening the arms, and then you're going to drop the gaze so that you bring the top of the head back down, lifting back up into your tripod headstand. Split the legs if you're upside down. Slowly lower them all the way to the mat. Lift up halfway. Walk your hands to your left foot. Spin all 10 toes to the front. Keep the right hand down, reach the left arm up, easy twist. Stay here or hover the right hand. Last full breath in. Exhale, hands down, plank position, lower onto your forearms. So this next thing can be done either with hands clasped together or separated as wide as the shoulders. So you're coming into Dolphin again. Either continue with your Dolphin push-ups if you're like, hey, that was kind of beneficial. If you want to try something funky, you can work into baby crow, baby Bhujasana. So you can bend the knees, you're going to find the knees to your upper arms. So here, our shoulders, of course, are going to go further than the elbows, right? They're not going to stay stacked. They're going to come forwards, round the upper back, squeeze your heels towards your butt, baby Bhujasana. Your head's pretty close to the floor, might feel a little cramped. Maybe you feel confident enough to shoot the feet back into your forearm plank, and everyone lower down to the belly. Wrap the arms behind you, other thumb on top, peel the chest up, shavasana. Maybe lifting the feet. And release all the way down. Push back up, downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths here. Lift your right leg. Knee to nose, pull it in, shift forwards. Inhale, extend the leg up and back. Right knee to right underarm 3 times. Slide to the wrist. Pull it back up to the wrist and up. Last one to the wrist and up. Lizard pose. Couple of options here. If you're like, Jess, enough, you can place the back knee down. Maybe work into a stretch here. If you want to continue working with me, you're going to drop the right shoulder again underneath the right leg. Either taking the hands out or maybe finding a bind back behind you. So feel kind of that energy of the right leg pressing down on the right shoulder, but then the shoulder is pushing back into the leg. That's going to help you with your balance. So we're squeezing the inner thighs towards one another. Release your hands back down. Everyone drop the back knee. And then heel toe your right foot in between your hands. Straighten through the front leg, half splits, Ardha Hanuman. And I'm curling my toes back towards the shin. I'm also gonna spin my toes out to the right just to target the lateral hamstring here. You don't have to do that, but I like to kind of do it at every opportunity I can because I tend to be tight through that hamstring muscle. Spin the toes back up, rebend the right knee. Find a low lunge, more or less looking for kind of 90-degree angles in that front leg. Right arm underneath left for eagle wrap, and then lift the back knee up. As you inhale, open through the front of the body, lift the elbows. Exhale, round, tap the elbows to the right knee, pull the belly in. Again, inhale, lift up. Exhale, round and tap, spread the shoulders. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Keep the eagle wrap and upright your torso. So try to keep the wrap of the arms as long as you can, standing splits. Weight into the right leg and fold. The last moment, bringing the hands to the floor as you fold over the right leg. And then swing your left leg through your hands, pistol squat. Maybe you take the hands away from the mat to sit all the way down. All right, guys, I'm gonna spin to face you a little bit more just so you can see. If you know that your hamstrings are really tight, I would prop your hips up on a cushion, a bolster, or maybe fold up the back of your mat a couple of times just so that you're not leaning back like this, right? Now, the key here is to keep some space between your right foot and your left leg. You don't want them all the way touching. What you do want is to squeeze the right heel towards your butt, right? Reach the arms up, and we're bringing the right arm to the inside of the right leg when we fold. So option one is just to tent your fingers here. Right hip will probably lift a little bit away from the floor, so you can stay here. If you wish to add on, taking the bind, so you're wrapping the right arm around your right shin. The closer that heel is in towards your buttocks, kind of the deeper you'll be able to get into this. Left arm back behind you. Bhujasana A. So if you are taking this version with me, round the spine, flex the spine, think of pulling your head towards your left knee. You know, a lot of arm balances and inversions require us to be able to spread the shoulder blades, right? But oftentimes, this position of a rounded spine gets a bad rap because we slouch when we're driving or at our desk. Lift the torso back up. But it all comes back to doing things with intention, right? Just like I was saying before with the shoulders going forwards or rounding forwards, it's not that that's necessarily bad. It's bad if you're doing it, say, unknowingly, without control, without the strength to back it up. Same thing with this kind of rounding. You know, a lot of us are trying to undo that from sitting, but if you're working towards certain postures, your spine will need to be in that position. So it's not bad. You just want to be conscious of what you're doing. All right, enough of that. You're gonna take your right arm underneath your right leg. So I like to swing onto my left hip here. Again, let this be messy. I'm using my thumb to move my calf muscle out of the way. Now you could always use blocks underneath your hands here by coming into Ekahasta Bhujasana. So squeeze the right leg down onto the right shoulder. At the same time, push that arm back into the leg and then lift the hips. Maybe the left heel stays down, maybe you lift it up. Round the upper back. Breathe. 3, 2, and 1. Lower the hips back down. Unwind your leg. Right foot to the floor, standing splits. Sweep the left leg up and back. Fold over your right thigh. Malasana. So again, I'm gonna spin around to face you guys. So we're gonna work into Bhujapidasana, which is shoulder pressure pose. Similar to Tadasana, but different. Even if you can come into Tadasana, stay with shoulder pressure pose because on our next round, I'm gonna give you a few different variations. All right, so I would start by lifting the hips. You can separate the feet a little bit wider. And then again, spend some time here, wriggling your shoulders underneath your legs. Get messy. Swing the hips around. Wriggle. Yeah? Now you could always use blocks underneath your hands here. When you set the hands behind your feet, your fingers are going to be facing in the same direction as your feet. And then look at your elbows. They're bent. You're creating a little ledge so that when your butt comes back down, ta-da, your legs are sitting on your upper arms. Now look forwards just a little bit. Walk your feet together and then lift your heels. Keep squeezing everything in. Maybe you're going to cross your ankles and lift the feet up. Bhujapidasana. Breathe. Now from here, you're going to come back to a vinyasa. If you feel like you've got the juice left to do it, you're going to uncross the feet, lift the hips up, keep spreading the shoulder blades, come into Bhujasana, and then shoot back. Otherwise, whatever way you come back is perfect and fine. I know that was a lot. I'll meet you in downward facing dog. Lift the left leg. Exhale, knee to nose, pull it in. Inhale, extend back. Left knee to left underarm. Pause here, or 3 times, slide to the wrist. Pull it back up to the wrist and up. Last one, to the wrist and up. Left foot to the outside of your left hand. Lizard pose. Maybe you're dropping the back knee down, resting a little, otherwise left shoulder underneath the left leg. Perhaps finding your full bind here. So you can start to see, now that you know what the peak pose looks like, you can start to see how everything that we've been working on is kind of putting together or sequencing so that you have a little more success when you come into the pose. Release the bind if you've got it. Everyone back knee down, heel toe the left foot in between your hands, half splits, pull the hips back, flex your toes, flex the foot, and then maybe spin the toes out. I find it really funny because I'm sure you guys have seen, I have a pretty deep forward fold and my hamstrings are really open when I do a forward fold. But then I come into a shape like this, and as soon as I target that lateral hamstring, I want to cry. It's so strong. So it's funny how you can be, really strong in one area of your body and then kind of neglect, another area, even if it's within the same muscle group. Toes back to face the ceiling, rebend the front knee, upright the torso. All right, so left arm underneath right for your eagle wrap. Lift the back knee. Inhale, elbows lift up. Exhale, round, pull the belly in. Again, inhale, lift. Exhale, round. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Keep the eagle wrap, upright the torso. And then standing split. So maybe you're able to keep the wrap of the arms. So you fold. The last moment, hands will come to the floor. We're going to swing the right leg through the hands, bend the left knee. Maybe you're able to do this without your hands. Sit down. All right, so we hug the left heel in. Make sure there's space between your right inner thigh and your left foot. Reach your arms up. We're coming to the inside of the left leg to fold. Now, even if you're here, right? Say your hamstrings are tight, say this is everything. What I want you to work on is likely the left knee will want to do this. I want you to practice just squeezing it in, yeah? For those of you who are working the bind, go ahead, work it. Remember that you're going to round the spine. Think of drawing your head towards your right knee. All right, lift the torso up. So here we go, we're unwinding the arms. Left arm underneath the left leg. Like I said, I roll to the right a little bit so I can really get that leg up nice and high. Feel the pressure of the leg pushing down on the arm back to the leg. And then we're gonna swing the hips back, maybe lift the right foot. Eka Hasta Bhujasana, breathe, 3, 2, and 1, lower the hips back down. Left foot to the floor, standing splits, we reverse out, right leg lifts up. Malasana. Alrighty guys, so lots to work on here. Obviously you have Bhujasana, which we did on the first side. That might be enough for you. You might be working that. You might also then be working Bhujasana into crow pose. I wanted to introduce you to 2 variations of Bhujasana. You may not have seen them before. I'm going to demo them and then you can give them a shot. As I demo them, I'll talk you through some of the key points that I've found. All right, so to set up, you know the drill. I'm going to do this. Okay. And then I'm going to sit back. So I'm going to find my regular Bhujasana. Here it is. Okay. Now, if I'm going to move into Bhujasana A, here's the trick. Point your toes. And you're going to kind of wriggle the hips a little bit. Keep pointing the toes until the feet come back. And then you're gonna bend the elbows more and bring the top of the head down, like you were gonna go up into tripod headstand. So this is Bhujasana A, and then you're gonna wiggle your way back out. Bhujasana. All right, now I'm gonna try Bhujasana B. Again, I'm gonna point my toes, try to wriggle my feet back. So you can see I kind of swing my hips to do that. Now, shoulders are going further forwards, further forwards, further forwards, until my chin comes to the ground. And then lift back up. Whew. It's a lot. And you might have seen in that B variation that my foot was actually resting on the floor. I kind of lost it a little bit there, so I'm gonna have another shot. But, you know, it's similar to chin stand, and obviously that the chin is coming to the floor, but you really wanna try and keep the shoulders super stable. If you feel like the shoulders are rounding and you're losing the strength, don't continue to go down, right? Just come back out and reset. Okay, so have a go. I'm gonna work Bhujasana B again. I think it was too much to do it after A. So pointing the toes if you're going into A or B, so that the feet come back a little bit. And then with control, bringing the chin down. And then lifting back up. And maybe you shoot it back, vinyasa or whatever. By that point, you're kind of like, I'm dead. It's a lot. All right, stretch out your wrists a little. We have one final thing that we're gonna work on with Bhujasana, and that is to jump from downward facing dog into the arm balance. So if you are someone that's used to jumping from down dog into handstand, you'll know that in order to do that, you have to get your hips on top of your shoulders, right? Now you can certainly lower into Bhujasana from handstand, but that's gonna be super tricky, right? And it requires quite a lot of endurance in the shoulders and the forearms and the wrists and all of that kind of stuff. We're not aiming to do that. All we're aiming to do is float forwards. So you kind of have to get out of your head the idea of the hips lifting up, and you wanna think forwards, right? So I'm gonna show you, and then we can work on it together. All right, so I'm in my downward facing dog. Now I'm gonna step my feet in a little bit, and then I'm gonna bring my gaze in between my thumbs. So I'm not looking all the way forwards here, but I don't wanna keep looking back. And then as you wrap the triceps back and down, a little bend in the knees. Now you wanna think, like I said, forwards, almost like that action, right? So shoulders will come forwards. You'll take a breath, visualize yourself being light, little spring, to wrap, right? So there's a point where you go from down dog. As you travel into the arm balance, the elbows will bend so that they create that ledge for your arms to wrap around. Whereas if you were doing handstand, the arms stay stick straight in order to get the hips up. So let me show you again. I'm gonna look forwards. Visualize yourself into Bhujasana. All right, have a couple of goes. And even if you're like, you don't get there, or even if it looks a little bit like this, that's totally fine. It's all part of the learning curve, and you need to move through those little hurdles. You need to move through the ugly phase before you can get to the phase where it's a little bit more effortless. So if it's feeling, maybe looking a little ugly, please don't get discouraged. We've all been there. I find jumping into arm balances quite challenging because, as I said, I really trained my body to always like jump into handstand. So I had to prep a lot for this class, which is why I'm a little bit out of breath. Some of you, play around more with your stance? Like, does it help more to bring the feet in more? Does it help more to bring the feet out more? Does it help more to start with the feet wider, right? Play around. I'm gonna do one more. My hips pull back. Actually, here's another tip as well. When you're in the arm balance, you're rounding your spine, you're puffing up the lower back. So you can even start to prep that while you're in your downward facing dog. So if you take a look to the screen, say I'm prepping to come into the balance. When I bend my knees, I'm then gonna actually hook my tailbone towards the backs of my knees. So rather than being here, right, which is gonna be hard, I'm already starting. So I'm hooking it in, and then keep that as you float and wrap around. Okay. Yay. All right, if you're ready to move on, we are going to set up blocks, the back of the mat. You guys know this well. Do whatever shape feels most comfortable in the legs. Adjust the block that's underneath your head. And when you do find your way into this position, just acknowledge what's taken place over the last hour. And then be kind to yourself and let go of any judgment you have towards yourself, your practice. You know, my hope is that you have fun in these classes. You can approach them with a lighthearted spirit. And sure, we work hard, absolutely. And there is a sense of focus and discipline. But if you're not having fun, then, you know, life's too short. Soften the muscles around your face, your jaw, unclench your teeth. We have about another 30 seconds or so here, so you could always remove the block that's underneath your head if you wish to take this a little further. When you're ready to come out, bringing your forearms down to help lift you up and take that block out to the side, coming all the way down onto your back. We'll set up for a bridge pose. Feet about hips width distance apart. Curl your tailbone towards the backs of your knees to lift up. And then maybe you want to interlace the hands underneath you. Maybe you want to grab a hold of your heels. And lower all the way back down. Take a breath or two. One final back bend here, bridge or wheel pose. When you're ready, making your way up. If there's any variations you'd like to add on, go for it. And coming all the way back down when you're ready. Now, I don't have a particular counter pose for you today. You might want to hug your knees in. I know some people love to take a twist after a back bend. Maybe you love to just roll around on the mat a little or take a happy baby pose. You might do legs up or plow. I think especially by the time you're at this level of practice, you guys know what your body needs. And I know that was a lot today, both physically and mentally, a lot to concentrate on, a lot to learn. So when you are ready for Shavasana, set yourself up for a nice juicy rest. Maybe you want to turn the lights off or grab some props. Eventually making your way into your Shavasana. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'd really love to hear your feedback on this class, and let me know, send me a picture of yourself in the pose. I'm always love to receive those emails. Thank you for joining in. Namaste.